My name is Chris. I am the Virgin Voyages Wedding Specialist.
And you really do answer questions because I've been asking you 500 questions for the last 2.5 hours.
No amount of questions is too much. So.
Ahoy sailors, I'm Christine Lozada. Welcome to the Virgin Voyages Tips podcast, an insider guide to navigating Virgin Voyages like a pro. You can find this on YouTube and every podcasting platform, but check the show notes. There's additional helpful information in there and a killer deal. So let's dive in.
I am here to make sure that you have as smooth sailing as possible for your once-in-a-lifetime voyage.
And I've loved what I've learned today. And I've done extensive research on all the info you guys have out there, but I know that there are still top questions that we are asking. And one of them was around photography. And so the question that people normally ask is, well, what are my options for photography? And what do you say to them?
Their current options that we have are, we allow our sailors to either bring their own photographer. They would need to be sailing on our ship during that time, and basically the agreement is between the couple and the individual photographer. The other option that we do have is if the couple decides to have their important day while we are in port anywhere in the world, they can source a local photographer, for example, whether we are somewhere in Greece or in the Mediterranean or in the Caribbean. They can choose any type of photographer. We work with our onboard team to ensure that they do get what we call a day pass. And that way they can come on board, take their photography during the ceremony, and we basically politely ask them to disembark about an hour away while they're having a great time on board.
We know you want to stay, but please GTFO.
You know, we do ask that you politely exit, disembark about an hour before the ship sets sail.
That's a great option, but that is something that some planning will need to happen in advance because not just anyone can come on board.
Correct.
I mean, you think about the check-in process that we have gone through to come on board, showing our passport and all the other things, inputting our info in the app, signing the contract. So for a day visitor, there's a little bit of a process that they have to go through. What does that look like?
Correct. So we do need their all their contact information, their personal information, basically, because we do still want to make sure that our safety and security of our guests and crew, as well as our ship, is our paramount priority. So we do want to make sure that we are able to vet them and make sure that they are cleared by the local authorities to come on board our vessel for that event.
So the third option is if none of these are working out for you, you can always ask someone nice on board or ask your onboard help.
Correct. So we do have a dedicated onboard wedding coordinator that will be the one to really execute the vision with the different teams on board, and they will be with you throughout the process and throughout the ceremony, the different events. And if you do need some pictures taken, they will be that go-to. While we are not Picasso and we don't take professional grade pictures, we are happy to assist in taking those pictures with your own device, whether that is a camera or your phone device.
Which is a really nice thing that you guys are willing to do.
Absolutely.
Another thing that I was thinking of, especially if you're planning on getting married, it's like, why not go all out? That tier 3 package, like I immediately gravitated toward that one. I was like, oh yeah, you would just go all out. You would do rockstar status, you would do that, blah, blah, blah. And one of the things that you told me about that I was like, that makes so much sense. Because I was like, is Virgin Voyages going to be pumping out 5 tier 3 weddings on a 5-day voyage, for example? So tell us about that, because I was really surprised by your answer.
Absolutely. So one of the things that we do want to make clear, and that really sets us to be different than what's out there, is that we really allow one ceremony per voyage at any given time, especially on a tier 3 wedding, because we don't want our sailors to feel like they are rushed. We want them to feel like the rock star that they are. They really want this to be an all-encompassing experience that really makes them, not only from the moment of embarkation with their dedicated, VIP type of check-in, all the way through the ceremony and the different touch points. So we really want them to feel like it's their voyage, it's their celebration of love.
One of the coolest things that I think gives us as an option, if there's only one tier 3 wedding happening, is this freedom of, well, what day and what time is this going to be happening? And we know, you can't do it as soon as you get on board on embarkation day, and you can't do it the day you're leaving because you need to GTFO off the ship, but you have this flexibility of, if you're on a 4-day or a 4-night sailing, or a 9-night or 15-night, or however long it is, you can choose it based off the weather and the time, and be able to flex on which day you have it, so it can be the best possible experience for you. And I thought that was really nice. Yeah. You're not competing with someone else who's having a tier 3 wedding.
And which is really great. One of the things that we do allow is we also allow our sailors to really choose a day that means the most to them. Maybe it's a symbolic day because they really want it to be on X day, because this is exactly 10 years to the moment that they met. So, or amount of years to the moment that they got engaged, or the amount of time they've been married altogether. And also we allow them to choose a date and time that really works for them.
Yeah.
And this is why we ask our sailors to really give us enough time to plan this and really make sure that our teams on board our ships are able to execute on that vision and deliver on everything that we have spoken through this whole planning phase. And the other thing that I like to note is that not everything needs to happen on the same day. On a tier 3, that cocktail party can happen at any point during the voyage.
Yeah.
How about a welcome cocktail to really get your family and friends in the groove of things? How about a farewell and thank them for really surviving, your voyage and really spending that time with you? Or if you want to go the more traditional route, doing it following your ceremony, and really take that opportunity to mingle with those loved ones. So, and the same thing with your dinner, that elevated or wedding dinner experience that is part of that tier 3 can also be done as a wedding dinner, more traditional, or as a welcome dinner where you really want to have that as your initial touch point and welcome to all your friends and family.
I love that, because I feel like so frequently with these weddings and events, everything just happens on one day, and it's like, it's long, and it's just this whole ordeal. Whereas, especially if you're all on vacation together, you can really space it out in the way that you want it to look like, based off of the voyage that you're on. So if someone is watching today's video or listening to today's podcast and they're wondering, like, oh my gosh, like, how do I start this process? What does that look like?
Absolutely. So one of the initial thing is to go to virginvoyages.com, or if you on your search browser, just search Virgin Voyages Tie the Knot. That is the name of our program. You will be directed to our landing page where you will find our brochure that has all our offerings, our different tier levels. What does the floral look like? What does the decoration look like? And so on and so forth. As well as it also has a interest form. So once you fill out the interest form, it comes to our weddings team. And then we promise a response within 48 hours. And that is just to account for the weekends. However, we will always respond within 48 hours. We do an introductory email to present that wedding specialist and that point of contact initial. And then we allow you to really schedule an appointment, no commitment appointment, with your wedding specialist at the time that is preferred for you. During that call, the goal is to capture the vision, understand what the couple is trying to celebrate, a time frame, a ship, a destination, and really answer any questions that once they looked at the brochure, or maybe they didn't even look at the brochure, walk them through what a wedding or a vow ceremony looks like on board Virgin Voyages, and how our ceremonies that we offer are different than other cruise lines or a land-based destination.
Yeah, I love that. And they also have the option for what we're doing today, which is an in-person meeting with you.
Absolutely.
And generally, how long does that take, and when does that happen?
Absolutely. So we do offer ship tours as well. Now we do offer them for sailors that are currently booked on a Virgin Voyages sailing. And that could be either sailing out of Miami, where we currently have our Scarlet Lady and Valiant Lady sailing. If you are sailing out of San Juan on Resilient Lady, we do have our onboard groups manager that is that point of contact, that second point of contact that I mentioned earlier, that can walk them through the journey as well, walk them through the spaces, answer questions. They have a direct line to myself, and then I can answer any outstanding questions or reach out to them post-voyage and then set up a more formal setting meeting like this.
Yeah.
The idea of a ship tour for those sailors that are sailing is for them to really have a physical vision of what it could look like.
Yeah.
How much better was it when we were up at the perch and I told you, imagine the archway, the flowers right here, overlooking, this perfect picture perfect day.
I have been in these spaces dozens, if not 100 times. But it's different to be in that space and be like, oh, okay, like literally this is where I would enter. This is where I would walk. This is where exactly the arch would be placed. And this is like what I would be looking at and envisioning that space, standing in that space with the breeze in my hair doing crazy things. I probably need to brush it now. And it's a totally different experience. Like it's one thing to look at it and it's another thing to have the opportunity, especially on a sailing, to come and experience it. That was really helpful today. Thank you.
And that's why I always think that it's also good because then we do that on the day of embarkation.
Yeah.
Because in that way, you can spend a little bit of your time while you're on board our lady ships to really
the rest of my voyage.
and just think about it. I was like, oh, that's one of the places that I can have the cocktail party. Just imagine, I'm doing the grog walk, but that's actually one of the bars that I can do my private cocktail party.
Yeah.
Or that's where I would be if I was in Sip Lounge, which I just love for some afternoon tea. How much better would it be if I have my 50 friends and family or just a smaller squad, just spending an hour of just really getting to know and just having this amazing experience with.
Yeah. Can I tell you the top 3 things from our meeting today that I loved the most? There's a lot of things that I loved. But one was one of the reasons why I stand behind Virgin Voyages is like this different experience in which it truly is an elevated experience with value, and I'm not nickel and dimed. Like I'm not leaving today's meeting thinking like, oh, like what hidden cost when you send that contract might be in there or something. Like I'm very clear around what to expect and what I will get and why that's a value versus if I bought it a la carte. That's number one, which is how I feel about Virgin Voyages all the time. The second one was about the cocktail hour. So on a tier 3, the cocktail hour, what I loved, minus the part with no Moet, that's a whole other story, is that it's actually at a bar. Like it's at one of the bar spaces and you have the options between a full private and a semi-private. And you can have this, like I was doing the math on how much I drink in an hour.
In an hour.
And that current price point on tier 3, that is that hour based off of how I know my friends and family
Absolutely.
drink, which is pretty amazing. And then I would say the last one is, and this, I said this to you earlier, I was like, if there's a time to get married, it's now. Before it gets really popular and really mainstream on Virgin Voyages. Because the number of things and personal care that you're giving to each person to truly help them to create the experience they want, when they scale, when it becomes popular, I'm sure you guys will still bend over backwards to make it happen, but like right now's the time.
Absolutely. So I think, we're really, really popular. The program launched on October 29th, so it is fairly new. However,
you guys are booking so fast.
However, the demand that we've had has been amazing from just the interest form when we first dropped our teaser back in September, all the way through when we officially launched that inquiry form, and to be able to book some of these sailors, we are already booking into our very last voyage that is available for sale in 2026 in the fall, in the very early fall of 2026. And I think it's great. If you don't know where you want to go, I will happily point out some options. I will help you choose a destination, but ultimately it's where you want your friends and family to join you.
Yeah.
Or if you're choosing to just be the two of you, an elopement, or just something really private with just 4 friends and family, and just the 2 of you as well. That is also an option. That is the beauty of this program. It really tailors to either just the 2 as something that you just thought about, so you said, you know what, let's just do it. We're already going to be sailing the Adriatic, and how cool would it be and romantic to get married or renew our vows with the white houses of Santorini on the background. Or if you say, you know what, I've been talking nonstop like Christine does all the time to all her followers, and I need to bring them all. I need 4 celebrations, to just bring at least to just bring them all. It's like, oh my God, I know like 300 people. How do I kind of select 50? And ultimately, even though our packages is capped at 50, we are always looking of way of innovating, which is in our true Virgin Voyages fashion. We do value our sailors' feedback and input, and ultimately we look at ways to really expand and improve our current offerings, and what the future later on this year and into 2026 look like.
Which is something that I love, because you guys have incorporated so much of my feedback just on a ship experience, which also means if you're listening or watching this, you got to go watch the updated info, because if things change, this content will change, and I'll keep it updated. Can we dream for a minute? Let's pretend. Let's pretend you were getting married tomorrow. What would your ideal wedding look like?
Ahoy, sailors. Quick announcement from Christine, popping in to remind you that the show notes or the description of this podcast has a ton of helpful info that most sailors miss. And one thing that's in there is a killer deal. There is a reason why other travel agents book with us. And even if you've already booked your sailing, it takes just 2 steps and 10 seconds to get a price comparison with us. So check the description and let's get back to the episode.
On Virgin Voyages, where would you be? How long is the sailing? Which tier would you do? Which space? I'm ready to judge you.
Okay.
Hold on, let me put on my judging glasses. Okay, I'm ready.
So I would do a vow ceremony, because I am happily married. It'll be 10 years married this year.
Congratulations.
So I would say that I would choose one of our marvelous voyages in 2026 to the land of fire and ice in Iceland. I would want to do a sunset ceremony or a nighttime ceremony on the perch with the Aurora Borealis, if possible, or the night lights.
I just got goosebumps.
How cool would that be? Beautiful, beautiful night sky.
With which arch?
No, with the modern boho, of course. Very pastel, very minimalist. Tier 3, because I do know too many people, and I know probably too many of my fellow crew members on board and shoreside would want to join. So of course, I can't just pick. So definitely tier 3. I would do my cocktail party at the Aquatic Club. And the reason being is because that's where our net is.
Yeah.
So which is our famous net. It is a private venue. And again, it does have the outside as a view.
Yeah.
And you're literally out in Iceland.
Yeah.
It might be cold. So not
Worth
shorts and t-shirts type of wedding or vow ceremony, but still, it's just romantic. And then I would follow with a nice dinner at the wake, where I could really treat myself with like one of our tomahawk steaks, or a seafood tower, and just really spend time with my closest family in our head table, and still have my other friends and other loved ones near me in our semi-private fashion where we are in that restaurant. And then we would follow and end everything on a sweet note, because we need to cut the cake. What is a wedding or a vow ceremony without some sweet tooth? So we would offer a chocolate with dulce de leche and almonds in the, I would say, floral and gold to kind of tied in with the arch.
Yeah, that.
So
I can completely imagine that.
And then we would just kind of party the night away. Hopefully it falls on Scarlet Night, and then we just continue from ceremony to cocktail to dinner to Scarlet Night and the Scarlet Night after party, and we roll until the wee hours of the morning.
I know it's not. It's in
Your
theory.
Invite is
but
done. You're in now. Your turn.
All right. Do you need the judging glasses?
They're already on.
I thought I knew until today, and I actually saw it in person. So before, because again, I've been on the ship. This is my 18th sailing. I know these spaces like the back of my hand, minus not knowing how to get to the perch today. That's a whole other story. And I originally thought I would want it to be at the wake, with an entrance of coming down the stairs and coming to the arch near the waiting space, which is normally where it's at. And what I realized was, if you're getting married on a cruise, you actually want to show that you're on a cruise. The wake can look like you are literally anywhere in the world, whereas somewhere like the perch truly does give you the full ocean experience. And every time I've ever been on the perch has been for Zumba or yoga. and we're facing not towards the ocean normally. We're facing the other way. It depends on the instructor. But I'm not used to looking at it in that way. And what I would want to do is a 3 to 4 back-to-back voyage. I would do it out of Miami just so it's accessible to as many people as possible. And maybe I would definitely do the tier 3. I mean, I'm definitely going to have to be selective around who the 50 are, because that won't be easy. It would be on the Perch, and it would definitely be during sunset. Just that beautiful time. It would probably be at sea, or maybe it would be during the sail away from Bimini. That view when you're leaving Bimini with the Bahamas water and nothing is that color. I would do my dinner probably on a separate night. I would probably want to split everything up so there could be multiple nights of entertainment, of gathering together. And I would also choose the wake. Wine list, and it's definitely a time for the Magnum bottles and all the things.
The good stuff. We're only opening the good stuff.
Right?
It's really treat yourself time.
It really is. Because, on the other side, it would also be, booking the massive rock star. It would be, this is a time to go all out. And so it would look like that. And then, you gave me some inspiration with the cocktail hour. It's like, it would be kind of cool to do it, as like a pre-sail away or a post-sail away or something like that, where it's like a way to gather and welcome everyone in the beginning. I could see that being really fun. Or I could see it being a really fun way to gather right before Scarlet Night starts. I could envision that. Yeah, the 8 o'clock hour, so that everyone can be at Scarlet Night right at 9. I could see those 2 different options. And to be honest, between the arches and the floral arrangements and all those things, I love all of them, so I'm like, I have no idea what it's going to be. Maybe.
So it's one of them. You look like a classy person, so I would do a little more luxe chic. You give me that vibe with the white, white and ivory roses. I
love it.
I think it's more classy. You can never go wrong.
To be determined. I'm excited though. This has given me a lot of ideas. I will be spending the rest of this 8-night voyage thinking about it. Thank you for doing this with me.
Absolutely, it's been my absolute pleasure. And for any sailors, honestly, I'm here for them. And really it's about ease, no stress.
Yeah.
Really in true Virgin Voyages fashion. Taking the guesswork out of things.
Yeah.
I'm here to not just do the intro part, but, throughout the journey. I meet with our sailors every 30 days, just as a touch base.
Yeah.
To make sure, hey, how's the planning going? Are we thinking, did our list expand? Did we shrink our list from 300, Christine, to... are we now at 70? Okay, cool.
Now we're at 700.
Now we're at 700. Okay, well, I will follow up in 30 days, and hopefully there's a little bit more movement. But ultimately, it's about really touching base with those sailors and saying, hey, I'm still here. I haven't forgotten about you. Your sailing could be in 2026, but I'm here through this entire process.
Yeah, I feel like one of the things I have felt going through this process with you is literally a sense of relief. Whereas I think about what it's like to plan a wedding on land and how many different things. And I mean, for this, it can be as turnkey as you want it to be. There are plenty of options and ways to customize, but it's in a way where it's like, oh wow, like I don't have to just, and one of the things is like being worried about your guests. And it's like, well, they have the whole ship to enjoy, and There's a lot here for them to enjoy.
It's a vacation and a celebration ultimately.
Yeah.
It really is. It really becomes, a lot of guests, a lot of our sailors that will be joining these couples, it's their very first cruise altogether.
Yeah.
Or it's their first Virgin Voyages cruise. So ultimately, this is an exploratory an experience. It's an even bigger experience. It's a remarkable day as well. So ultimately, that's why this flexibility of planning and days and time really fits into, for those that have been on board, okay, we know that the PJ party happens on night 1.
Yeah.
And that's a staple. We know that there's Pink Agave after dark. We know that there's Scarlet Night. When I'm planning, I want my guests to experience that. I want them to experience Bingo with the Diva.
Yeah.
Or one of our other happenings, offerings that we have across the ship, where you really want them to fall in love with the brand and the products, just as so many, tens of thousands of sailors have done over the years.
This has been another episode of Virgin Voyages Tips Podcast. If it was helpful, please share it with somebody. And we want you to book your sailing with us. We'd love to help you set sail because we're here for you every step of the way. A reminder to check the show notes. Things on Virgin Voyages changes all the time, and you'll find more helpful links and resources in the description. We'll see you in the next episode.